Have you ever faced a situation that felt utterly hopeless? A moment where everything you tried failed and you were left with nothing but desperation? Maybe it was a health crisis, a family tragedy, or a personal failure that seemed impossible to overcome. We've all been there, standing at the edge of what we can control, looking into a future that seems dark and uncertain. In those moments, what do you cling to? Where do you turn for a glimmer of hope? Today we are going to dive into a powerful passage from the Gospel of Matthew that speaks directly to these moments of despair. It's a story within a story, featuring two individuals facing impossible circumstances. One is a respected leader whose world has just been shattered by the death of his daughter. The other is a woman who has been suffering in silence for 12 long years, an outcast in her own community. Both are at their absolute breaking point. But in their desperation, they both turn to one person, Jesus. What unfolds is a beautiful and dramatic demonstration of faith, compassion, and divine power. It shows us that no situation is too far gone for Jesus, and no person is too insignificant to capture his attention. This isn't just an ancient story. It's a living testament to the kind of hope and healing that is still available to us today. So let's explore this incredible account together and see what it reveals about the heart of Jesus and the power of a simple, desperate faith. Let's begin by reading from Matthew chapter 9, starting at verse 18 from the New International Version. While he was saying this, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come and put your hand on her, and she will live." Let's pause here for a moment and absorb the weight of this scene. Jesus is in the middle of teaching, surrounded by a crowd. Suddenly, a synagogue leader, a man of high social and religious standing named Jairus in other Gospels, pushes through the people, and what does he do? He falls to his knees before Jesus. This act alone is astounding. In that culture, a man of his status would not typically humble himself so publicly before an itinerant teacher. But his desperation overrides any concern for his reputation. His words are a raw cry of a heartbroken father. "My daughter has just died." This isn't a plea for a sick child. It's a plea for a dead one. He's past the point of medical help, past the point of natural solutions. Yet, in this darkest moment, he expresses an incredible statement of faith. "But come and put your hand on her, and she will live." He believes that Jesus' touch holds the power to reverse death itself. Let's continue with verse 19. Jesus got up and went with him, and so did his disciples. Notice Jesus' immediate response. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't question the man's faith or lecture the crowd. He simply gets up and goes. This immediate, compassionate action speaks volumes. Jesus is moved by this father's desperate faith. He drops everything to respond to this need. The disciples follow, and you can imagine the crowd buzzing with anticipation, following along to see what will happen next. This journey to the leader's house becomes a procession of hope, but the journey is interrupted. Let's read verses 20 and 21. Just then a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." Suddenly, the focus shifts. In the middle of this urgent mission to save a dead girl, another story of desperation unfolds. A woman who has been suffering from a continuous hemorrhage for 12 long years secretly approaches Jesus. For 12 years, she would have been considered ceremonially unclean. This meant she couldn't worship at the temple. She couldn't have normal social contact, and she was likely isolated from her family and community. She was an outcast. She had probably spent all her money on doctors, as other Gospels tell us, only to get worse. She is at the end of her rope, but she has heard about Jesus. Her faith is so specific and so focused. She doesn't dare to speak to him publicly, perhaps out of shame or fear. Instead, she thinks, "If I can just touch the edge of his cloak, I will be healed." She believes that power emanates from Jesus so profoundly that even the smallest, most indirect contact will be enough. It's a quiet, hidden, yet powerful act of faith. Now let's see Jesus' reaction in verse 22. Jesus turned and saw her. "Take heart, daughter," he said. "Your faith has healed you," and the woman was healed. At that moment, even in a pressing crowd, on his way to an emergency, Jesus is not too busy for one suffering soul. He feels the power go out from him. He stops, he turns, and he looks for her. He doesn't just let her slip away with her healing. He wants to have a personal encounter with her. He calls her daughter, restoring her dignity and affirming her place in the community of God. He affirms her publicly. He doesn't say, "My power healed you." He says, "Your faith has healed you." He honors her desperate, courageous act of reaching out, and the scripture confirms it. She was healed at that moment. 12 years of suffering, isolation, and shame ended in an instant because of her faith in Jesus' compassion. Now the story returns to the main crisis. Imagine the delay. Jairus must have been frantic. Every second counted. But now they continue to his house. Let's read verse 23. When Jesus entered the synagogue leader's house and saw the noisy crowd and people playing pipes, when they arrive, the scene is exactly what you would expect. The house is filled with professional mourners. The noisy crowd and the flute players were a customary part of funeral rites in that time. Their presence confirms the grim reality. The girl is dead. The sound of wailing and funeral dirges fills the air. From a human perspective, all hope is gone. The professionals have been called in. The ceremony of death has already begun. But Jesus sees the situation differently. Look at verse 24. He said, "Go away. The girl is not dead but asleep." But they laughed at him. Jesus' statement is jarring to the mourners, who have seen death countless times. His words sound absurd. Not dead but asleep. Of course, Jesus isn't denying the physical reality of her death. He is speaking from a divine perspective. To him who has power over death, her condition is as temporary as sleep. Death does not have the final word, but the crowd, grounded in their earthly experience, can't comprehend this. They don't see with eyes of faith. They see with eyes of cynical realism, and so they laugh. They mock the very one who has come to bring life. Their laughter represents the world's skepticism in the face of God's power. Let's read the powerful conclusion in verses 25 and 26. After the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took the girl by the hand. And she got up. News of this spread through all that region. Jesus doesn't perform this miracle for the entertainment of mockers. He puts the unbelieving, noisy crowd outside. Miracles often require an atmosphere of faith, not cynicism. He enters the room, likely with only the parents and a few of his closest disciples. The scene shifts from chaotic public mourning to a quiet, sacred space. And then the miracle happens with beautiful simplicity. He took the girl by the hand and she got up. It's a gentle, personal, and powerful act. The same hand that healed the bleeding woman now reaches across the chasm of death and pulls this little girl back to life. And just like that, she gets up, alive and well. The news of this incredible event, understandably, couldn't be contained. It spread like wildfire, a testament to the life-giving power of Jesus. So what can we take away from this incredible passage? We see two very different people, a prominent man and an outcast woman. One approaches Jesus publicly, the other secretly. One is asking for a miracle for his daughter, the other for herself. But both share one crucial thing, a desperate faith in Jesus. They both believe that Jesus was their only hope in an impossible situation. And how does Jesus respond? With immediate compassion and power. He is never too busy, never too distracted. He stops for the one while on his way to the other. He shows us that everyone matters to him, whether you're a community leader or a social outcast. He meets each person right where they are. To the woman, he gives healing and restores her dignity. To the father, he gives back his daughter, conquering death itself. This story teaches us that our faith, even when it feels small or desperate, is powerful when it's placed in Jesus. He sees our secret struggles, just like he saw the woman in the crowd. He hears our public cries for help, just like he heard Jairus. The world may laugh at our hope, telling us it's foolish to believe for a miracle. They may tell us the situation is dead and gone, but Jesus tells us it's merely asleep. He invites us to put the doubt and the noise outside and to trust that his touch can change everything. Whatever impossible situation you might be facing today, remember this story. Remember the faith of Jairus and the faith of the woman with the issue of blood. Reach out to Jesus. You might feel like you're just grasping for the edge of his cloak, or you might be falling at his feet in desperation. Either way, he sees you. He cares, and he has the power to bring life where there is death, and healing where there is brokenness. Your faith in him is the key that unlocks his power in your life. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this passage. I hope it encouraged you. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the Word. See you next time. Search for Jesus at HaroldSwaney for the complete library of my Bible study videos. Thank you and God bless.